Hey everyone, buckle up because today we're taking a deep dive into something pretty wild. We're talking about a presidential order. Yeah, a real one that basically sets up a Bitcoin Fort Knox.
A Bitcoin Fort Knox.
Yep, you heard that right.
Hmm.
Our source for this deep dive is an article from TradingView News, and the title is a real mouthful. Trump signs order setting up Bitcoin Fort Knox and digital assets stockpile.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So just to lay it out, we're going to be looking into how former President Trump basically established this strategic reserve for Bitcoin and other digital assets, kind of like, how Fort Knox is for gold.
So like a physical vault for digital currency.
Exactly. It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not every day you hear about the government stockpiling Bitcoin.
Right. So we're going to unpack how this whole digital Fort Knox is supposed to work, where the assets actually come from, and what it all means for the future of cryptocurrency.
All right, let's get into it.
I got to say, the whole concept of a Bitcoin Fort Knox is pretty surprising.
Yeah, I mean, when I first heard about it, I was definitely raising an eyebrow.
So can you break down what this order actually entails?
Sure. So in essence, this order aims to create a reserve, a stockpile, if you will, specifically for Bitcoin and other digital assets.
Where is all this Bitcoin coming from? Are we talking about like government mining operations?
Not quite. It's actually about the government holding on to Bitcoin and other crypto that they've already seized.
Seized.
Yeah, like in criminal investigations or civil forfeiture cases.
Oh, okay. So Bitcoin that's been confiscated as part of legal proceedings.
Precisely. And the idea is that they're going to hold on to this Bitcoin for the long term, kind of like an investment.
Interesting. So they're not looking to sell it off right away.
No. The goal seems to be to let it appreciate in value over time. And to give you an idea of where this is coming from, David Sachs, who you could call Trump's crypto czar, basically his advisor on crypto czar, put it this way.
Crypto czar, that's a new one.
Right. So Sachs said, and I quote, "The reserve will be capitalized with Bitcoin owned by the federal government that was forfeited as part of criminal or civil asset forfeiture proceedings."
So all that Bitcoin the government's been seizing, they're going to store it away like treasure.
Exactly. It's a pretty fascinating approach. And, when Trump signed the order, there's this video where he says, "Made the promise right."
So he was pretty proud of following through on that one. But it also mentions that they want to expand the reserve without impacting the budget.
Yeah, that's another interesting piece of the puzzle.
How does that work? I mean, you can't just conjure up Bitcoin out of thin air, right?
Well, not exactly. But the order encourages officials to come up with what they call budget-neutral ways to add more Bitcoin to this reserve. Essentially, they're looking for ways to get more Bitcoin without spending taxpayer dollars.
Sounds like a tall order.
It definitely is. Sachs mentioned that the secretaries of the Treasury and Commerce, they're being tasked with figuring out how to do this. They're supposed to develop these strategies for acquiring more Bitcoin, but without using any existing funds from the budget.
Okay, so it's like a challenge to get creative with their Bitcoin acquisition. But, it really emphasizes how they see real value in Bitcoin if they're willing to go to these lengths to get more of it.
Absolutely. It's a clear signal that they believe in its long-term potential.
It does make you wonder, though, doesn't a government-controlled reserve kind of go against the whole idea of cryptocurrency being decentralized?
That's a really good point, and there are definitely some strong opinions on both sides of this issue. Some folks argue that, too much government involvement could end up stifling the innovation that's been happening in the crypto space.
Yeah, like it could lead to more control and regulation, which some people see as a threat to the core principles of crypto.
Exactly. But then there's the other side of the coin. Some people believe that this move actually legitimizes crypto as an asset class.
So, by the government taking it seriously and creating this reserve, it could actually lead to wider adoption.
Right, because if the government sees value in it, maybe more people will start to consider it a worthwhile investment.
It's almost like a double-edged sword, right? It brings crypto further into the mainstream, but it also raises concerns about government overreach.
Definitely. There are both potential benefits and risks to consider.
But let's bring this back down to earth for a moment. Why should the average person care about this Bitcoin Fort Knox? What does it mean for them?
Well, I think it's a pretty big deal because it signals that cryptocurrencies are becoming more mainstream. This move, it could have a real impact on how crypto is regulated, traded, taxed, all that stuff down the line.
So the rules of the game could change based on how this plays out.
Exactly. And it's not just about the U.S. either. The success or failure of this Bitcoin Fort Knox could influence how other countries approach digital assets.
So we could see a ripple effect across the globe.
Potentially, yeah.
Wow. So this Bitcoin Fort Knox, it's not just some headline-grabbing initiative. It could have long-lasting implications for the entire crypto landscape.
Absolutely. And that brings up an interesting question for everyone listening.
Let's hear it.
Could we one day see other countries establishing their own strategic reserves of Bitcoin?
That's a fascinating thought. What kind of impact would that have on the global financial system?
It's hard to say for sure, but it's definitely something worth pondering.
Well, there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into President Trump's Bitcoin Fort Knox. It's a story that highlights the growing importance of cryptocurrencies and the complex relationship between governments and digital assets. Who knows what the future holds, but one thing's for sure, this is a space worth watching. Keep exploring and keep those questions coming. We'll see you in the next deep dive.
As always, subscribe to our channel, like the video, and comment below. There are also some links in our description that you may find useful. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.